Run it back, run it back, run it back. Good morning, good evening, good night, good afternoon, whatever time you're listening in, wherever you're listening from. Shout out to my Spotify listenership, Apple and Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and YouTube if you're watching in. Thanks for giving me a reason to get dressed. Coming live from my voice to your phone, headphones, TV, or car stereo. Your attention could have been anywhere in the world, but it's here right now. Take a moment to be present and recognize that it is now, right now. Whether your right now is running, working, cleaning, exercising, flying, laying down, driving, be grateful we're alive. Failure can be frightening. However, as Winston Churchill reminds us, success is all about going from failure to failure without losing enthusiasm. This is I Will Not Lose podcast. We set out to learn. Everything is perseverance. Everything's about learning from failure and recognize it as one step closer to success. I'm your host, Tony Ortiz. Let's jump right in. This week, we're diving into a topic that's close to my heart and one that I suspect many of you guys have grappled with. But this is the battle between creating quality content, the pull of digital distractions, and the ever-lurking monster of procrastination. So I'm sitting there. I enjoyed Father's Day weekend. We're recording on Juneteenth, so big holiday weekend, lots of barbecues, lots of things like that going on. And so I said, I'm not going to record on Sunday. I'm going to enjoy Father's Day. And that got me to procrastinating, but it was well worth it. And I'm sitting just a few hours ago. This episode is due to drop 3 hours from now. So really procrastinated. And I'm scrolling through Facebook into that black hole. And I hit a moment of realization. Like the answers to what I'm going to talk about tonight are not going to be found in the endless feed, but within my own experiences and struggles. So I like to kind of go with whatever's on my mind at the time, and procrastination really hit. So it's really a struggle in this digital age because you have the pull of social media, the demand for consistent content. It's like a ticking clock. It's like a balancing act. So do you share? Do you post? Do you work on creating a quality post? Do you just post something with the dog, taking the dog for a walk, and then finding yourself scrolling and looking through other people's content, it's really can be a time sink. Like it really can be a time sink. I've had experience from taking a complete washout from social media and just walking away from it completely, as well as being active and having something to promote. So I had to take a step back and, whenever you feel the pull of, wow, I got to drop something, and you don't know whether or not it's going to be the greatest thing you ever created because, they say the greatest inspiration is a deadline, but sometimes it can cause stress. And at least when you see people podcasting, they appear very relaxed. And even if you have a production company taking care of everything for you, it seems like just talking. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what it is. It's talking, but there's a lot of back end that goes into it. There's a lot of preparing for the episode topic. There's a lot of formulating how the flow of that episode is going to go. And so it really does take a lot of time. It's not really something you can just whip together right beforehand. So I was going to post late, but I think we're in a good frame. I realized that I got into podcasting to relax, to kind of set a personal anecdote. And it became something that I'm writing the script as I go. We listen to viewers and we listen to stuff, but the biggest and greatest feedback is the personal anecdotes. And that's what sets this podcast apart from the hundreds of thousands of other positive mentality podcasts that are out there. I mean, I don't even know what I'd be categorized as, but the truth is you're going to deal with procrastination. You're going to deal with some days where you're like, man, I just don't want to get up and go through and do that. So having to remind myself why I got into it was pretty good. But join me. I'll continue with the personal stories, lessons learned, and strategies developed along the way. So first thing is to identify distractions. So like I said, a few hours ago, I was just endlessly scrolling. And I don't even know how long, but I found myself just aimlessly scrolling through Facebook. And I saw somebody else had posted their podcast. I said, oh, that's right. I got to drop tonight, and the fact that I don't even know how much time I put into sitting there scrolling, it's kind of scary. So you have to realize what is a distraction, what is the normal promotion and the stuff that you have to do, because your stuff can't just sit in a box. I mean, I've tried to go a long time without posting anything, and people tend to forget, or they ask you, are you still doing that? Hell, even if you are posting what you're doing, people still ask you if you're still doing it. It's strange how real we think Facebook and social media is, but the algorithm really creates an echo chamber. Like, you don't see absolutely everything your friends are doing, they don't see everything you're doing. So understand the impact, understand how the pressure to release content or release an episode every week can be a struggle between, like, some people are smart and they have months worth of content planned out, ready to go. They have an idea of what they're shooting. And I could imagine that at some point you want to create something fresh during that time that something comes out. So it's great to have a hybrid schedule of a whole bunch of stuff set up, and be able to drop consistently without putting a ton of effort and putting yourself of, what if I don't have something to come up with this week? What am I going to be able to do? So I I struggled with the high quality content versus meeting the deadline versus how do you go and promote the episodes. I took a break from promoting the episodes, focused on some other things, and just made sure I hit my drop date every week. And the drop in my viewership, I definitely felt it. So people do need to be reminded, even if they're subscribed to you, people need to see what's going on. So it's a very real struggle between, do I have to be online? Are people going to forget what I do? I can honestly say, in about 12 years of business, very few, and I'm absolutely grateful for all my clients that did come through Facebook, but very rarely is it a referral where somebody reaches out to you and you build a huge relationship of somebody through Facebook. So I know the realities, I know what's there. I know that there's a whole market for people who just want to see the short stories and the content. So you find, I originally created a long form podcast, and now you have to find ways to chop that down into little 30-second or 60-second bits. And people won't go back and listen to the full episode, but they'll still feel like they kind of get a gist of what you're saying. So I understand the game that I'm playing, and I will get better at it. So some strategies for overcoming procrastination. I am honestly thinking, and you guys let me know in the comments what you think about it, but switching to a bi-weekly format to maintain quality, where I would still be recording every week. I would not get into it's so seductive to try to fall into just recording every 2 weeks, but I'm just not going to see the sort of growth that I want to see being that inconsistent. So if I switch to every 2 weeks, I would use the other week to continue to record content as well as promote the previous week. So doesn't have people feel like it's in such a rush to listen to the content before next week's episode comes out, or feel that they can't go back and listen to content from there. So, set your goals, set your boundaries, know what you can do to avoid burnout, know how much you can do. And this comes at different times in your life. I mean, I could definitely put a lot more energy in my 20s when my kids were younger into doing things than I can at 36 years old. That's just the truth of things. You deal with lacking energy at that point. But you don't want to fall into the procrastination trap. The worst thing you could do is have a deadline that's at the deadline and push everything right till the end of it. There's a whole series, there's a whole thought called the Eisenhower matrix that lets you shift things between whether or not like what the priority is, as well as the urgency. So how fast is it due, and how important is it to your overall goals? And if you have any of those AI tools that kind of go through and organize your calendar for you, they ask you the same thing. How long is this going to take you? How urgent is this? So don't fall into the trap of trying to let everything become urgent and important and be stuck in that quadrant, because you're going to drown. It's a terrible feeling, So this is me learning from failures as well, too. You talk about recognizing social media as a distraction. YouTube is a social media as well, too. And it's a whole game and it's a whole algorithm. And if you're looking at your viewership and looking at how long people listen to your episodes and things like that, you may want to make some changes based on that. But I got myself playing the game of YouTube for a gaming channel, and I was spending more hours than I put into the podcast a week at putting together a highly produced video every week. And it was getting barely any views. And I continued to do that for months. And I'm glad I did, because I learned things about video editing. When I didn't have clients, I was able to work on my own stuff and get closer to that 10,000 hours. But it was really something that distracted me from something that I could have been doing, or something that's going to be living on forever. I mean, those videos are still up, but they're not highly viewed. They're not the greatest. So here's, maybe, I don't know if it was 4 or 5 months of my life that I just put towards creating that. But hey, no regrets. You got to learn from your failures. You got to move on, So didn't pan out as expected, but created such valuable experience that I know how to upload and create a channel and maintain a channel on YouTube. So this I Will Not Lose podcast can exist on Spotify and all the audio platforms, but also on YouTube. If you guys like watching me talk or watching guests, I think it's especially important for guest episodes. We have a few of those coming up as well. But it's weird. I'm going to switch perseverance and say one thing that helped me persevere through social media was just taking a complete break from it. Like March, maybe around February or March of 2021, maybe it was 2022. I don't even remember. But I just made a post saying, I'm enjoying taking my dog for a walk, focusing on my mental health. And Facebook isn't leading towards those goals. I'm not really finding anything there. So I was going to take a break from it. I was right around when Musk bought Twitter. So I don't know if that was last year or the year before. Been so busy. Time has really been flying. But so it definitely had an impact on my algorithm. There's traffic that I'm working on building back now that probably, had I been posting consistently for 6 months, I would have had an audience to promote the podcast. Now I'm kind of, oh, hey, who's this guy? People remember me. It's not a huge impact, but the amount of things I was able to create during those 6 months were worth promoting. We started the podcast during that time. We incorporated Tony Ortiz, the Designer LLC. Got a lot of things done and set up. So now coming back on social media, it's a lot easier not to get sucked into looking at what everybody else is doing and using that as a measuring stick to my own success, as my own worth. That's not what you want to get caught into. So, it's not that I'm anti-social media, but right around 2016 with Snapchat and things like this, people got into kind of just posting content that wasn't curated, like filters and things like that came later to make your pictures look better, your video, your skin look smoother. But for the most part, it was just people talking into their cameras. And so during that time, I took a lot of pictures, and I have them saved as hard drives that I just haven't edited yet. But I like to crop photos. I like to color them. I like to really do photo editing. So sometimes I don't want to look back at a memory. I wonder, will our kids look back at digital photos in the way that we look back at photo albums? And, those weren't the greatest photos, but they were tactile, like you could hold them. They meant a whole lot. So, I mean, it's very easy not to get stuck into procrastination or feeling like you have to post everything that you do, feeling like you have to document your entire life. There still is room for being able to talk to people in real life, go to real life networking things, be out. There's a world that exists beyond digital media. But I can feel myself rambling. We're going to start to land the plane soon. Let's see. Announcements. Got a couple of guests coming up. Just got through editing Heidi Markow's episode, so I'm going to touch base with her and sync when her new website goes up. We'll launch that around then. I have Mr. Jonathan Rocker headed in this Friday, so 4 or 5 days from now, we're going to record his episode. I don't have a drop date for any of these, but I have been curating content, so doing the opposite of procrastinating. We had V Alvarado over last weekend, so I've got tons of hard drives of stuff to edit, but it's going to be good. We'll close out season 3 with a bunch of guest episodes, and I'll take a break during that time. I'll edit the content, schedule it out, and then hopefully get back to creating some quality content for. I'm not going to talk season 4 yet. We're like just starting into season 3, but let's just say the end of season 3 is going to look way different than the beginning of season 3. So it's a little bit that I'll give you now. Other than that, enjoy your summer. Stay safe. Happy Juneteenth, everyone. This is I Will Not Lose podcast, where we set out to prove everything is learned from failure, and we must persevere and recognize it as one step closer to success. To support the show, visit the website shows.acast.com/I Will Not Lose and subscribe on your favorite podcast player. Share this episode link, leave a comment. Your contribution is appreciated. Thank you for listening.